Howdy, Ags, and welcome to Aggie Growth Hacks, the podcast sponsored by the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship at Texas A&M University. We're dedicated to helping entrepreneurs improve their business, connect them with other Aggie entrepreneurs, and supporting one another. I'm your co-host, Chris Hunter, Fighting Texas Aggie class of 1998. Whoop! And Greg Martin isn't able to join us this time, so I got to fly solo on this episode. Got a little story for you, Ags. Katie Burch, Fighting Texas Aggie class of 2003 and 2005, grew up in a sharecropper's house in Brenham, Texas. She later went on to Texas A&M and got her architecture degree, moved back to Brenham with her husband, and together they started up their business, PlanNorth Architecture Company. They are two-time Aggie 100 winners, and Katie shares some of the best advice and hacks that she's been given throughout her entrepreneurial career. So pass it back and listen up to Katie as she shares some good bull. All right. Thanks for coming on, Katie. I can't wait to hear your entrepreneurial journey and really just to learn more about you and your business.
Thank you guys so much for having me. We're excited.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your entrepreneurial journey? Where did it start? Where are you now? And all that kind of stuff.
Thank you guys again for having us. And I literally cannot believe that I'm on a podcast. So that's kind of been the story of my life. Maybe we fell into this, but as I'm a self-proclaimed country girl. So my husband and I both live in Brenham. We have two kids, two boys that are entering the teenage years. So
nice.
With God's help, hopefully we'll survive that. But as a kid, I was very, very, very shy, and I had really poor eyesight. And so I had some challenges when I was little. We were in an entrepreneurial family. My parents started a construction business when I was very young. And then we moved to Brenham when I was about 9, and they thought it would be fun to move into a sharecropper's house. Oh. So yeah, with 4 kids, they wanted to live in the country. And everyone I tell that to, they're like, oh my gosh, a little country cottage. I was like, no, it wasn't like that at all. It was terrible. What I think we learned was kind of to be comfortable being uncomfortable. It was kind of part of our life, but it didn't really bother us. And it kind of set the stage for just being, I don't want to say content, but almost kind of just content with your surroundings, and then being real comfortable wanting to go for something more, you know? So I grew up in a family kind of like that. And my parents were not at all concerned with our comfort. They let us be uncomfortable, which I think our generation could take a lesson from that. So
absolutely, 100%.
Grew up in Brenham. I went to Glenn College before I attended A&M, which was a wonderful choice for me. And I think it's still a wonderful choice for many students to have some sort of like transition period between high school and college. But then we ended up moving back to Brenham. My husband's from Houston, and I had no intention of ever moving back to my hometown, ever. And he was kind of like, girl, you don't know how good you have it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he wanted to try out living in the country, and I'm so glad that we did. It's a wonderful place to raise kids.
Love it.
That's where we have our business.
Did y'all go into a sharecropper house just like your parents did?
Absolutely not. No. Rental, and then we built a house.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey then. You know, you moved back to Brenham, and I'm assuming that you started up your current business.
Yeah. So I went to architecture school at Texas A&M. That was one of the hardest things that I ever went through. And I have wonderful memories of A&M, but it was A&M, a lot of people don't want to say it's so challenging. It is so difficult. Something you're proud of. It was difficult, and architecture school was hard. I think I came in pretty ignorant, and I don't say that in a demeaning way, but I just didn't know. I hadn't seen a lot of what was out in the world. And when I showed up to A&M, I mean, it was bizarre. I mean, it was like, you can't unsee it. There were these kids from China who were watercoloring these art pieces. It looked like something you see on TV, you know? And then the Indian students in the architecture college had this like knack for these organic shapes that you never seen before. And it's like your eyes were just opened. So it was, A&M it was hard, but it just opened the horizons. And my husband went through the construction science program, but he had a very similar experience. I took the traditional route of becoming an architect through architecture school. I'm formally trained in pre-K through 12. School design is where I went when I graduated. But then I transitioned pretty quickly into community and nonprofit business office type projects. And so we started our company technically in 2010. So we've been at it about 14 years.
And I see a couple of Aggie 100 awards right behind you.
Yeah.
I know that you've won Aggie 100.
Right.
What years did you win those?
We won in 2020 and 2023. Yeah, this year.
Awesome. And that's such a hard thing to do. And it's awesome that you have, those awards and have grown your business enough that you could say I'm an Aggie 100 winner. That's pretty cool.
It is really cool. And I want to say something about the award in 2023. That award means something different because COVID was such a hard year for us. The last thing anybody's going to do during COVID is design projects that may not be built. So we had, everybody said pump the brakes. So the 2023 award was it's really special to me because it meant that we could come back. We knew how to build it back. We knew how to get our feet back in the game when the economy changed and people went back to work. And we pretty much worked the whole time, but we didn't have a lot of projects during COVID. I don't know, that award's very special to me because it's that's the comeback kid award. So.
Love it. So are your projects that you work in, are they primarily around Brenham area?
Yeah. So we work Brazos Valley. Our office is in Brenham, and we have this philosophy of always being able to drive to the job quickly. Some things that construction projects will always be built in the dirt in person, And so I think it's really important for architects to be able to get to the job and pay attention to what's going on and be available, make decisions quickly. So we work about 60, 70 miles of Brenham. So we have a lot of projects in College Station, and we love this area. So
love it. Absolutely love it. So is there any, can you pinpoint any one thing that you learned at A&M that's been helpful as an entrepreneur? I'm
a actions speak louder than words kind of girl. And when people show me something, it's almost like they say, oh, what was the best advice or whatever, you got. And I watch, and I met and saw so many people at A&M. And then later after we graduated, Aggies, former students doing these things. They're just incredible. And I think I learned from watching them and hearing their advice. But to me, the A&M experience it's a lifelong experience. I mean, I couldn't say something in 4 years that happened. The whole thing's been amazing. But I think about Olsen Field or Bluebell Park, where we play baseball. Olsen Field. Howard Cruzy is a Brenham guy, and he's one of the guys who made that field possible. And he's always told the people in Brenham, anybody that'll listen, and he'll give advice to, anyone, any of the younger people, to plan your work and work your plan.
Okay.
And that advice has stuck with me. And I remember that whenever I'm tempted by distractions, because I feel like the old generations, they could pay attention. They weren't so tempted with all these distractions that we are,
Yeah.
Whenever I get the shiny object syndrome where I'm getting really distracted, I say to myself, plan your work and work your plan. If it's not one of those two things, hit reset. But I've learned so much from Aggies and just the connections to A&M throughout my life. And there's another guy, I was thinking through this, Aggies that have influenced our journey. Mm-hmm. And there's a guy, Dr. Ned Walton, who he had a firm that did programming of buildings in College Station when we were getting started. He gave us our first project. It was his church in Bryan.
Wow.
So my husband was still on the construction side at that time. And so he was out on the site and I was doing the plans. And Dr. Walton literally sat on the job site in a lawn chair every day and watched our every move. And
no pressure.
Thought it was funny. Yeah, we thought it was funny at the time. But now I realize he taught me how to mentor someone. Mm. Give them their chance, but don't leave them out to dry, make sure you're right there. And I've always been grateful for that.
That's awesome. Love that. So what would you say that, you were talking about it earlier on your Aggie 100 win with 2023 being very special to you, right? We've all faced the challenges of COVID, right? And how it affected our businesses in the past couple of years. Beyond something like that, what other challenges have you faced and how are you, how is your core values helping you guide through all of that?
Yeah, so we have some core values that are just really special to us. They're actually written on the studs of this building. So when we renovated the building, we actually wrote them on the studs and then covered them up. So we're not changing this. We can't. They're already covered up,
Love it.
So our core values are have fun, give back generously, treat every project like it was your own, unite others during a challenge, and share what you know. And those core values mean a lot to us. They're not your typical, they teach us how to make decisions on projects. And so my personal challenge, and I thought about whether I would actually say this out loud on a business podcast. I've had to grow into being a business person. I'm an architect, and I always will identify as I'm here for the projects, and I've had to kind of flow into that. And those core values have helped me make the right decisions, or at least when we make mistakes, hit reset. So,
yeah, I love that. And you're right. As entrepreneurs, we don't, hardly any of us go into business thinking, hey, I know all this stuff about business, right?
Right.
I mean, you have to, at first, especially, you have to wear a lot of your different hats, like accounting, like managing people, like even managing yourself.
And that's the biggest one right there, right?
Oh, I know. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Because if you're a visionary type like I am, you're like, okay, I got this idea and this idea and this idea and this idea. And you have to have someone, I think, personally, I think that you have to have someone that can ground you and guide you through all of those ideas and say, no, that's not a good idea. Let's go for this one right here.
Right. On that note, I've always tried to, and this is just a little strange thing. I wouldn't call it a hack, but I've always tried to keep myself on 3 teams at any given time. So, and not, I mean, it's a metaphor. It's not a sports team, but I try to keep myself on 3 different teams. One is the team where I'm an equal contributor and I'm around people who are equally contributing, and we feel a little bit of comfort in that. We're all figuring it out, staying level. Always on a team where I feel like I can lead. That's a project team, architectural projects. Obviously, I love leading those projects and can try out my expertise and what I've learned, what I'm good at. And then I always try to keep myself on a team where I'm wondering, how the heck did I get in this room? Like, why did they let me in? And that's so important because that's the space where you start to grow. So I don't know if you do something similar, but that's.
No, I think that's a great idea. I actually do not. And I love that because sometimes in this, so I'm heavily involved in scouts, and we tell the scouts all the time that a good leader knows how to follow. Right. Because you might be a leader today, but tomorrow someone else is going to be in charge of that. And so you've got to be able to follow that. But I love the how did I get in this room idea.
I mean, we've all felt that way. If you won't admit that you feel that way, you're hiding something. We've all felt that way.
Absolutely. Right. And that's where you as entrepreneurs, you have to get out of your comfort zone sometimes, right? And that's usually where that's at. How am I in this room? Love it.
And I just love being around people that are experts at things, like passionate people about anything. And in those environments, you get to say, okay, what are they doing? How did they figure this out? And it's just a very fun place to be. And it gives you some momentum to go back and apply things. So,
yeah, absolutely. Love that. Talking about your company, kind of digging a little bit further into your company, what kind of projects do you guys, typically work on?
Yeah, so we are a community-based firm. We're a boutique firm. So we have, there's 10 of us. One guy that I remember that never gave me any compliments. I worked with him for many years, never gave any compliments. He said, you guys punch above your weight. And I was like, okay, that's that stuck with me. And so with 10 people, we kind of section ourselves into portfolios. So my portfolio is like church work, schools, nonprofit, some business office type stuff, community projects.
Yeah.
And then we have another team that is an amazing municipal team. So they work on municipal projects. And we meet about all the projects all the time, but we've got some architects who have like very serious expertise in a certain sector. That's allowed us to be a small firm in a small town, not run out of work, right?
Yeah.
Because we like to live here in the Brazos Valley and not live in the middle of Houston. We kind of prefer the country life. So we've got to be able to do some different things,
Yeah, absolutely love that. And so it sounds like churches and schools and municipals and stuff like that. Is there anything else that you guys focus on and work on?
Yeah, we do some athletic projects. We do not do residential. Like we've done some school intervention centers, which have been really fun. We do a lot of renovation work, but here in Burnham, we will design just about anything.
Ags, if you're listening to this, and you've got some sort of any of those types of projects, definitely call Katie up on that one. So one of the things that we talk about here on Aggie Growth Hacks is something that's part of the entrepreneurial operating system, right? And Gino Wickman talks about you have to have a 10-year vision, right? And you don't have to, but really successful businesses have that 10-year vision and they line out their big, hairy, audacious goal. So what is your BHAG, Katie? What is your big, hairy, audacious goal, your 10-year, 5 to 10-year moonshot?
So first, I would like to say that I learned what that meant 2 years ago. So, yep. So I'm new to the party in terms of what that BHAG actually means. Mm-hmm. But I have become, in the last 2 years, I've become obsessed with like local ecosystems. Okay. So how does money change hands? How the schools, education, churches, where do we go to eat? Where do we, what drives the jobs? These types of things, and what types of environments support healthy communities. Because I will tell you, I think that I'm assuming we're close to the same age, we are probably the last generation that really identifies with anything before the digital age, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So our generation, unfortunately, and slightly before, there's been a lot of urban sprawl. I mean, we have these strip malls just popping up everywhere. I don't know that the next generation really sees value in those places. They buy most of their things online. These are people that have plant churches in their homes and grow them, right? It's just completely different mindset. And so I think there's an opportunity to really study what makes a healthy community and what types of environments create those experiences that we all really want to have.
Yeah.
Limit the distractions. A couple of years ago, we bought some property here in Burnham. It's adjacent to an 80-acre park. Okay. And we've been studying and working. It's just a project on our list, just like the other projects, how to create that environment. And the avenue is a boutique hotel. Okay. And when you come to that hotel, you will eat local food, do local things, and everything from the construction of the project to everything that you experience there will be funded locally. Yeah. So really, I don't know if you remember anything about when the green building movement started. I mean, it started in the 60s, but when LEED and all of those things became popular.
Okay.
That organization, the United States Green Building Organization, did an incredible job making a framework of what makes a healthy building, right? And then architects started following it, and it's amazing. So what we're looking at is what makes a local community healthy. So kind of our tagline is for locals, by locals. Visitors are welcome to. We're just so excited about that. And we're looking for the right partners. We could have started 100 times over if we wanted to join up with someone who wanted to sell it quickly. But we're looking for somebody who's pretty obsessed with longevity also. So,
okay. Awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
So is this more along the lines of you're building a community around this, or is it more just the architectural part of everything?
Yeah, so there's a couple of pieces to it. We have a big focus on something called entertainment. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but it's basically places that sort of entice people to enjoy the eating experience and stay a while. So things like indoor pickleball, sports simulation like golf, baseball, those types of things, paired with really good food, drinks, and just an environment to hang out, right?
Okay.
So those who want to do some sort of athletic entertainment or whatever, they can do that, but others are just there as well. It brings the people together. So that's one piece. And then this boutique hotel is another piece. And we see it as an economic driver for our community in a big way, because people love to come to the country and experience, what that's like, kind of slow it down a little bit. But we also see it as a way to, I don't want to use the word prototype because that's a big word, but a way to make people come off the highway and experience what is a community. A small town is not the McDonald's on the highway. It's the culture of the people, right? So it's an effort to make people stop, slow down, and have this experience that our grandparents kind of took for granted.
Yeah.
No one had to tell them to slow down. They had to make their own food, So it's just a little bit of a return to what really matters.
I absolutely love that. So timeline on this, because if this is your BHAG, this is what are you looking at for building this?
Well, I hope that it doesn't take 10 years. That would be crazy. Next couple of years would probably be the kickoff to that. We've spent a lot of time planning our work here. So looking for the right partners and the right people to advise us. But we plan about 3 to 5 years out.
Okay.
As far as 10 years go, I'm going to go wherever God takes me. I don't have a 10-year vision.
Okay. Well, and I agree with that. Our BHAG is 5 years, right? It's a 5-year BHAG
Yeah.
for us. So, anyways, all right, great. Well, that's pretty awesome. That sounds really, really awesome to be able to bring that small town feel for us, not us in College Station. I guess it feels bigger here in College Station than it did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I guess, at this point when I was a student. So, but if you're in the Houston, Austin area, it sounds like a great getaway, something to come and do.
I hope
in the
so.
future.
I hope so. And I agree with you. The College Station Hill still has the culture of a place like that. And that will never change, I don't think.
Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. We're going to head into our lightning round. You ready, Katie?
I'm ready.
All right. We have one rule only is that you have 1 minute or less to answer each of these questions. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So question number 1, what is your favorite personal hack? This can be a book, a podcast, whatever, anything goes because we are Aggie Growth Hacks.
Okay. So that's a hard one for me, but I think my favorite personal hack is to set your mind every day on others. Just think about other people and their goals. And I have a little rule of thumb with myself that if it costs you nothing and it means something to someone else, just give it to them. Wow. And that decision has already been made. So it makes it easy and it makes you grateful for, what you have every day.
Love that. All right. Next question. What is your favorite business hack? This could be a book, podcast. Again, anything goes. I
love the guy that y'all brought on the podcast, like maybe 2 times ago. He wrote the pumpkin plan. And I'm a big reader. I read so many books, all kinds of books, but this is the best business book I've ever read. And he based it on farming, which is so crazy.
Yep.
And so smart. It's all about how running your business is the same thing as growing pumpkins, and everybody should read it. That's my favorite.
And not just regular pumpkins. These are giant pumpkins.
Yes.
These are the ones that are like the size of Volkswagens, right? That people, grow and
yes.
Yeah. I 100% agree.
He talks about like how hard it is to get rid of a plant that isn't perfect because it looks good, but you have to like weed it out and focus on what's great. He talks about so many different things, and it's just the best about making a red carpet for your customers, those good customers that mean the most to you, just red carpet experience for them. And I think he is an amazing author.
Yeah. And I'm going to geek out here a second. It was super cool because he's one of my favorite authors of all time, business book authors, Mike Michalowicz, and that was super cool to be able to interview him and meet him, quote unquote, meet him via Zoom, right? That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, his whole style of writing is different than the way we talk, and at first I was like, okay, this is really different. I'm not sure if I'm liking, but I just couldn't put it down. The content in that book is amazing. And he turned out to be kind of just obsessed with the whole storyline. So,
yeah. And Pro Hack, you've got to listen to the audibles because on his audibles, he provides on all of his books, he does it himself. And then he provides so much more flavor than what he has in the book.
I've never done that.
Yeah. So listen to the Pumpkin Plan on Audible. Yeah.
I will.
All right. Next question. Katie, what is the best advice that you've been given and how have you applied it?
Like I said, I'm an actions speak louder than words type of girl. I watch people and take lessons from what I see. But Mr. Cruzy also told us inch by inch, it's a cinch, and yard by yard, it's hard. We've all heard that. It's almost, everybody's heard that. But it's interesting to me because when I hear a very successful person say something is hard, it reminds us, that things are hard for everyone. And I think one of the most dangerous things that business owners can say to themselves is that it was easy for someone else. That must have been easy for them. No, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't.
Nothing's easy.
Right?
Yeah.
No. And so when you see someone who was a former president of a huge organization say something is hard, it reminds you, well, then it should be hard for me too. I'm just going to have to work harder, Yeah. So I like that. I know it's old, advice, but sometimes we just need that little bit of encouragement.
Absolutely. I love that. And yes, I've heard that before, but that's a great reminder. What's the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And we get overwhelmed, right? Because we're human. Like we get overwhelmed at the amount of stuff coming into our brain, and projects. And it's right. Just one bite at a time. So
yeah. Okay, so next question. How can the Aggie Growth Hacks family get in touch with you and support you and encourage you moving forward?
Yeah. So we have a website, obviously PlanNorth.com is our company website. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, but I'm still a phone call type person. So you can call me on my phone, 979-251-4145. Call or text and you can get a hold of me that way.
Thank you so much, Katie, for coming on and sharing your entrepreneurial journey and really giving us all of these great ideas that we can put into action in our own business and in our own lives.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been fun.
Well, how about that, Ags? Was that pretty awesome or what? I know that I wrote down tons and tons of notes from my conversation with Katie. I have to say that my favorite one was plan your work, work your plan, right? That she got from Mr. Crucy with Bluebell, by the way, right? I love that because that's an overarching theme. If you've listened to any of the Aggie Growth Hacks podcasts in the past 4 years that we've been doing this, you've probably heard me say block and tackle your time, right? And that was something that was shared with me. And this is very, very similar. Plan your work and work your plan is very similar to block and tackle your time. And it's crucial for entrepreneurs to set aside blocks of time, in my mind, to give yourself focused time, right? We get pulled in so many different directions. We wear so many different hats as entrepreneurs that it is so very crucially important for us to set aside time to get the most important work done. And that's really what it comes down to, is what is the most important things that we need to work on. I've got a coach that we have to report on our top 3 things for the quarter, our top 3 things for the month, our top 3 things for the week, and then our top 3 things that we have to accomplish that day. So it's the top 3 basically, lined out for us. And then we have to put that on our calendar because he actually looks at our calendars and says, hey, if you don't have time on your calendar, what are you filling that time up with? Right. So that goes along with all of this of plan your work, work your plan, and block and tackle that time. Well, Ags, that's going to do it for another episode of Aggie Growth Hacks. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that you check out Katie online and go and connect with her on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever that she is. Go to her website. And while you're out there, go ahead and go to our website at aggiegrowthhacks.com and connect with Greg and myself online. We would love to hear about your entrepreneurial journey and possibly highlight you on one of these episodes if you're an Aggie entrepreneur. We also want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship at Texas A&M University. Since 1999, the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship has served as the hub of entrepreneurship for Texas A&M. If you're an Aggie entrepreneur or even a wantrepreneur, head on over to their website to find a program that's right for you. Just go to aggiegrowthhacks.com/McFerrin right now. Well, Ags, join us next time when we connect with another great Aggie entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks and gig 'em.